Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Dad Speak, a show where real dads share their stories about being present in their child's lives with the goal of raising responsible adults. I'm your host, Sarah McClure, and my guest today is Don Thomas. Don and I met about 3 weeks ago while working the 2024 NFL Draft. He already knew some of my family members, my brother, who's a retired fire chief, and my nephew, who is still on the job. Don and I were assigned to the NFL Control Center. He is currently the fire marshal of the city of Detroit, and he is also a proud dad. Today, I'm going to talk to Don about his road to becoming the fire marshal while raising his sons. So, welcome, Don. Thank you for taking time out your busy schedule to come and talk to us.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so describe your current career, because you hear people saying the fire marshal gonna close this joint down, the fire marshal gonna do this. How, what describe your career, your your position.
My position is a fire marshal, bound by the city ordinance fire code to enforce the fire code and the adopted codes that we have um, for life safety and fire safety. So, yes, a part of that is making sure that people are safe in the restaurants and the clubs and places that they visit, and also businesses. So we perform annual inspections and all types of businesses, from the mom and pop shops to high rise buildings owned by major corporations. It is more than just shutting something shut something down. It's really evolved more into a community risk reduction platform where we analyze what some of the risks are to help prevent fires from happening in people's homes and in people's businesses. So there's a lot there. The fire marshal division typically touches every part of emergency planning as it relates to the fire department, and also working in conjunction with the police department as well.
Now, while we were at the draft, something happened. You made an observation, and you told the people that this has to change. Now, this
Mhm.
wasn't a building; this was outdoors. So,
That's correct.
tell me what happened. I was there, but describe it to our audience.
Well, I think the biggest thing was the number of people that were coming to the venue, and there was some crowd management issues that developed internally, and so we had to make a decision to close all the gates and limit the capacity to what we had at that particular time. So that's a call that I had to make. Obviously, people were not so happy with it, but the reality is that we have to do things so that people can um, effectively move around the footprint and potentially get out in case of there being an actual emergency. So, in that sense, yes, the fire marshal did shut something down. Um, but that's just a matter of making sure that the guests and visitors and our residents in the city are safe and that they can continue to enjoy the good time that they had.
So it's important when we have these large gatherings that people are able, just like they're able to come in, they have to be able to get out or escape safely, because we've heard about people in nightclubs and the
Mhm.
door is locked so they can't get out the back door when a fire
Right.
occurs. And in that instance, like outside near the draft stage, you had a pathway. um there was a pathway made in front of the stage and along each side,
Hmm.
and that's the same thing, right? So
Well,
that
yeah, to a certain extent, yes. And making sure that we could be able to move around the footprint in case of an actual emergency. So the chute that we created was more or less a response to being able to quickly respond, and perform emergency medical service on anyone in that crowd. And you saw how large the crowd was. So
right.
it was going to be a challenge attempting to identify As I stated, grandma in the middle of the crowd who's having chest pain. We just made sure that we created something that would give us a better opportunity to identify and help a person that potentially goes down in that crowd.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you started off as a firefighter.
Yes.
That's how you have to be a firefighter in order
Yes.
to get. So it's a level of promotion,
Yes.
or you appointed.
It's a promotion from fire operations or the firefighting division to a lieutenant inspector in fire prevention section of the fire marshal division, and then from there I got promoted to captain over in plans and exams, which is fire protection engineering. There's two sections. There used to be three sections under the fire marshal division, and it used
Mm-hmm.
to be fire investigation. But that became its own division. So the two sections under the fire marshal division are plan review, which is fire protection engineering, reviewing life safety plans, fire protection systems, and new construction, rehab, building plans, as well as the initial permitting for special events. And then there's fire prevention, which does the inspections, goes to these special events, and a wide range of other responsibilities that we have as it relates to fire and life safety. So those are the two sections. I ended up being getting promoted to captain, and fire protection engineering or plans and exams, and then two going on 2 years. 2 years now I've been the fire marshal, and that's an appointed position.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
your word is bond, right? Your word is the last word. You are. So if I go to the Fox and they tell me I can't go out this door, but it says fire exit, I mean, do the fire exit have to be labeled in big venues? Do they have to be labeled, or can I just go out of any door I want to at any time?
Well, see, the thing is that with venues that have enough capacity, meaning enough capacity of doors to allow people in, to allow them out, the owner does have a right to say, "Hey, this is a fire emergency door only, so you
Okay.
have to go the other way," and that's what that's for. They have the right to control the movement of the people with the inside of their facility. When you sign off on Ticketmaster and take that ticket,
Mm-hmm.
you're basically saying that they can control your activities within that facility. So even if the door, some doors will be labeled like emergency exit only,
Mm-hmm.
meaning don't go through that door. It's only for emergency exiting. So it's their way. It's a life safety component, and it's a crowd control component, by only allowing you to utilize the doors that you entered from. Um, initially.
I was just wondering because some of them have alarms on there, and I'm wondering
Hmm.
if is that alarm going to the fire department telling them that there's an emergency at that venue? Is that another reason why it's labeled don't you know?
Yeah, no, that alarm is letting them know that somebody opened that door.
Okay,
Is what it is. So that's more or less an internal control for the actual owner, letting them know that somebody attempted to go out of the door.
okay,
So again, that's more or less a security measure to
okay.
ensure that people aren't sneaking around the building or exiting places in which they don't have the authority to do.
Now, how long has a fire marshal been in existence? Is it has always been like the arson unit? Has that always been in existence for people's safety and
Yes.
prevention?
Yeah, so actually, we had some documents I ran across. So the fire marshal was instituted around the time the Detroit Fire Department was instituted as well. So typically, there has to be an arm within the city, within cities that do public life safety education. We also do that.
Mm-hmm.
We talk to senior citizen groups and different things like that. So back to your question, there's always been an arm to focus in on public safety. life safety and doing inspections in buildings, as well as approving buildings that are being constructed and making sure that they have the right amount of doors for people to enter and exit, and make sure that the stairwells and different things are protected. So that's typically always a component of a major metropolitan city. Some smaller cities may have a fire marshal, and there may be one dude and one person and two other inspectors, but
Okay.
that's typically their role. The goal of the fire department is fire prevention. And the I like to call fire operations our big beautiful insurance policy. But the
Okay.
goal is really to keep them in a firehouse. Obviously, there's
Right.
emergencies, but the goal of the fire department is to help prevent fires.
Man. And
Yeah.
they've got a chief that talks on the he does commercials saying, get your fire smoke detectors,
Hmm.
and then he's actually telling you the have to have an evacuation plan for your home.
That's
So
correct.
that's okay.
That's a
I
part of
like that.
the public education. That would be Chief James Harris. He's the chief of community relations, and we made a big push over the past year to get more public service announcements out there to assist with our community risk reduction project.
Yeah, I like that because too many times you hear. My brother told me, he said people don't die from the fire; they die from the smoke.
That is
You know,
correct.
a lot of people. He said they've tried to get in houses and the person collapsed at the door because the smoke overtook them. And I can remember being in school and young, and they saying stop, drop, and roll. Do they
Right.
still want you to do that?
Yeah, that's still a learning component as it
Okay.
relates to our younger audience as well as older audience. I mean, typically, I guess you don't find yourself playing with too many matches as an adult unless you've got some issues. But setting yourself on fire, that curiosity level that young people have, we definitely have to, with fire and matches and different things like that, make sure that that message is brought home to
Wow.
protect themselves. But definitely getting low when the smoke happens is something that we teach. We are in the process of getting a new smokehouse for our educational purposes. We do have a traveling smokehouse that we utilize for public education and children's education. Just over the past 2 years, we've instituted Fire Prevention Week. So we've held open houses all over the city. I believe this year will be in Southwest Detroit. That's
Okay.
an area that we haven't really been able to get down and get our message to effectively. So we're going to target that community, but we'll still have smaller open houses on the east side and on the west side of the city.
Okay. So when you were growing up, did you want? How did you become a firefighter? Is there someone in your family? Is this a, father and son? Your uncle? Who? What made you become a firefighter?
No, I never had the desire to. Initially, didn't have a desire to be a firefighter. My brother, who's a lieutenant on the department in fire operations, he encouraged me to join. He had signed up and was on the department, and I was working as a heating and cooling engineer at the now, well, it used to be the double. First was the Omni, then it was the double tree, and now I believe it's Courtyard
Okay.
on Jefferson. And we would hang out during the day. I was working afternoons, and he'd be like, "All right, I'll see you later." He's like, "Yeah, I'm about to go home," and I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't work for the next couple of days." What? And so at that point, I think I had to make a career decision. I actually took a pay cut joining the fire department. I was doing pretty good, um, and it went from there. And a large number of the people that I went, well, I don't say a large number, our younger peer group also joined the fire department as well. So um, that's it. I thought that the schedule was awesome.
That
Uh,
that's what led you to.
yeah.
Because what do you work? You work 24 hours and then you off 48
Yeah,
hours? Or?
yeah. So 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, and then off 3 when I started. Now
Okay.
they're 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, and then off 5 days in a row.
Woo!
Yeah, I know.
Woof.
I
That's
know.
that's a good on the job retirement kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it's a great schedule. It's a
Yeah.
great schedule for sure, but it's still a lot of work. So
Yeah, because if you, I remember back, what do we call it? Angels Night.
yeah,
Yeah, when the Angels Night hit, I know that was no fun. There was no more 24 on 24 hours. Did y'all change your hours, or you still kept the same hours during that time?
you still kept the same hours during
Oh,
that
okay.
time, but you definitely were restricted from taking off from work. And
Okay.
and at that time they added additional fire engines
Hmm.
just in case the load got too heavy for our normal fire operations. But fortunately, in my time on the job, and I'm approaching 24 years in June, we it's gone away,
Yes.
and the one thing about it is that the progress of the city has helped, and honestly the demolition of a lot of the vacant houses that we've had in the city
Hmm.
has helped bring that fire load that we're used to seeing down. Very rarely, there might be a week where we might have 20 fires, 20 dwelling fires, and the times in which I was in the field, 20 fires would be happening in the city a day.
Whoa.
So we were really really busy, about 10, I would say about 10 to 15 years ago. At the height we were really busy, but things have definitely slowed down. And so much so that Angels Night is celebrated within the Detroit community as trunk or treat and different things like that, and no
Hmm.
one's really focused on those numbers. I believe last year on Angels Night we had like maybe two fires, and one was
Wow.
like a car or something. I mean, but there were only two home dwellings that caught on fire during that particular time. So,
That's
um,
excellent.
yeah, it's things have really progressed on that particular side of things.
So you say you have a brother. How many other siblings do you have?
I have a brother and two younger sisters.
Who's the
Uh,
oldest?
my older brother,
Okay.
yep, he's the oldest, and my younger sister is here. The sister that's after me is in Atlanta, and we're still all in the Metro Detroit area for the most part.
All right. Are you guys close?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. We enjoy the time that we spend together. Every time that my sister comes up, we definitely get together and hang out and just do us. So we're very very close.
All of you guys have kids, children?
My sister that's in Atlanta does not have children, but my brother and I and my younger sister, we have children, young
Okay.
people as I call them. They're young
All
people.
right. How many young people do you have?
I have two young men,
Hmm.
um, ages 21 and 20. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So um you're on the fire department. Well, you're making good money as cooling and heating,
Hmm.
but the schedule you like being off a lot.
Yeah.
So when did you get married and have those kids?
So I got married, married at 26. So that was about 3 years into me coming on a job, and so then we started having kids. Let's see, 2000. So I was about 5 year 2002. Yeah, about 7 or so years after. No, 2000. No, about 2 years after I joined the job, we started
Okay.
having kids. Yeah, two, three
All
years.
right. So how'd you meet your wife?
She was a long time friend. That's
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Why are you laughing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's because there's a story that I can't share on this podcast. So
Oh, okay.
no. It's cool. Yeah. So yeah, we had the two young men, and the schedule really allowed me to be present and that's what I appreciate about the job itself. I would have to say, I think firefighters are great dads because
Okay.
we have the opportunity to really spend time with our young people and be present. And I know that a lot of times I was on all field trips, the only dad on the field trips, and of course I got stuck with the bad kids. Uh, but it was great, and it really allowed um, for me to build relationships with their teachers and with other people that influenced them during their formal years as well. So that time, having that time off, really helped as it relates to parenting.
Did you find yourself being a substitute dad for any of their friends?
No, not really. I think that overall, the boys they did have their friends and different things like that, but I'll have to say I didn't have to play that role, fortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So most of them had their dads in their lives as well.
Yes. Yep.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So, what about your parents? What did they do for a living?
So my father was they're both retired. He's a metallurgical engineer for General Motors.
What's
Uh,
that?
that's a dude that throw acid on different blends of metal to make sure it's durable. That's the best way I can describe
Okay.
it. So what it was is and it was a part of the seatbelt manufacturing. So the metal on the
Hmm.
seatbelt, they were always trade products to continue to uh, improve the element of the seatbelt and other metal products that would be going into General Motors vehicles. So
Okay.
just a nerd, that's what I call it.
Sound
Uh,
like a good paying job though for a nerd.
yeah, he did good. And my mom retired from home medics as an executive assistant, and she really didn't start working until my younger sister got into middle school. So she was
Okay.
definitely a stay-at-home mom until we all kind of got a little older.
Okay. And nobody wanted to follow dad's footsteps and become an engineer?
No,
So
no.
how'd you end up in heating and cooling? You went to I mean, you went to college for that, or did you get in a skilled trade program for that?
Interestingly enough, when you have the vocational centers around here, and so I went to, um, I went to A. Philip Randolph, and at the time I wanted to do heating and cooling, and my mom was like, "Yeah, I don't really think heating and cooling is your thing. I don't really fashion you as a physical laborer," and I'm like, "What?" You know. And so I ended up going into computer aided drafting. She was like, "I see you at a desk." I'm like, which obviously I am at now, but um, I absolutely hated computer aided drafting. It was dreadful. I was like, "This is the most boring thing ever." Um, and then, as it turns out, after I graduated from high school, I did school for years, like, and then got to a trade school, and then started working in heating and cooling.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Hmm.
So, what high school did you go to? Right.
Detroit Central Trailblazers.
Oh, okay, all
Trailblazers.
right.
Yeah.
And you went to college where?
Initially, I was at Schoolcraft when I first came out of school, and then I
Okay.
went back to school. I attended what's that? Macomb Community College, and then I attended Siena Heights University.
Okay, and that's where you got your degree.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So you have 20-year-olds and a 20 and a 20 plus year old. They're in college or
My youngest is in school. He's at Schoolcraft taking up computer science, computer information science, with the hopes of designing video games.
Okay.
And my youngest, he's still trying to figure it all. I mean, my oldest is trying to figure it all out. So, but
Okay.
they're both working. They work hard, and just being in this environment where, as they call it, it's instant gratification. I think kind of hampers their ability to um, understand the fruits of their labor and see the
Hmm.
work and the results from it, as opposed to, you know, automatically getting that gratification for the things that they do. So, but definitely, I believe my oldest is looking into a career as an electrician. He does enjoy working with his hands, and so I think that's probably the route that he's going to be taking.
So neither one of them wanted to follow in their dad's footstep and become a firefighter?
No, they didn't, and I'm kind of glad.
Why?
Well, the temperament of your children.
Yeah.
You have to have an A type personality for the most part to work in public safety. You know that,
Right.
and that's not them, which is great. And then I would come home and give them a hug, and they would be like, "You smell like barbecue," So so they never wanted to experience that on their own. So and that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of activities did you do with them when they were younger?
Oh my goodness. Pretty much everything. And so we I mean, obviously took trips um to the zoo and Cedar Point and science centers. We did a lot of activities in Midtown to expose them to the arts and culture. My mother, she still does that with them to this day, which is cool. Um, Obviously some traveling, just a lot of travel. And then there were times in which we just, stayed home and played video games. At one point, we were living near a pond, and so boys would gather up some bread and go to the pond and feed the ducks. That was things that they liked when they were younger. And so, which is funny because my oldest is like, yeah, we should get some bread and go sit on the bench and feed. I'm like, really? But those are the types of things that he remembers
Right.
from his youth. So, um, very, very active. We did the normal things that people with young children did, and interestingly enough, I got remarried, so then I gained two more sons
Okay.
through marriage. So we had a house of four boys, so that was
Good.
pretty active there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So
good.
well, I do have two biological sons, but my other sons are my other sons. So
Gotcha.
I claimed them all. Yeah.
Good for you. Good
Yeah.
for you. Okay, so they didn't want to be firefighters and all that. Did they want to play sports when they were in school? Did they want to you play instruments or anything like that?
So when they were younger, they all played instruments, but they weren't very good. So, but, but as it relates to sports, I mean, they were pretty active. My oldest son, Donovan, he was on varsity swim team for all 4 years, and he ended up being a team captain his last year. And so that's what he did athletically. The other boys were like, we're just going to go to school. But my youngest Dominic, he's a great artist. He has a really
Oh,
really really talented um,
okay.
art perspective, and so that's what he did. He took all the art classes. He worked on art projects and different things like that. So that's
Mhm.
what kind of prompted him into wanting to go into video game design so he can bring some of his characters to life. And so
Oh,
um,
wow.
he's had classes for coding for video game design. He did that for 2 years in high school. He was explaining stuff to me, and I was like, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. No
But was
clue.
he excited when he was telling you about it
Yes, he
though?
was. Yes, he
Oh,
was.
yeah,
And
because I
so
hear
I was.
coding is very tedious.
Mm-hmm.
and
Hmm.
not very exciting unless you
No,
love it.
yep, unless you love it, and he absolutely enjoyed it. I'm like, bro, I don't understand anything you're saying to me. So, so those are some of the things that they did, and my oldest, he went to vocational school as well, and he went for mechatronics, which is basically the repair of automated machinery, and he was
Okay.
also on the what's that, the robot challenge, or where they build these robots, you
Okay.
know, design robotic
Mhm.
design. Again, all stuff I was like, yeah, okay, that's good job. Mhm.
Oh, you are too funny.
Yeah.
Okay. So before they were born and you knew you were about to have a child, what made you excited about being a father? What were you looking forward to?
um I don't know. I really didn't have any notion. I think I was more nervous about the responsibility of being a father,
Hmm.
and then just thinking about the lessons that I learned from my own parents. And I've always said that your style of parenting is a blend of the things that you appreciated about your parents and the things that you didn't appreciate about your parents, and then um, your own twists, right?
Hmm.
So it gave me an opportunity to definitely be more impactful, or think about what type of parent I would be during the process. So um, that's what I was mainly focused on, how I could be a good dad, and what type of impact I was going to have on my children.
So is your parenting style more like your mom or more like your dad?
I think it's a blend of both. I think that definitely uh, listen more and encourage them to speak up. Our rule was, as long as you're respectful,
Hmm.
we can have a conversation. You
Okay.
know, um, especially with young people, they need to know the why. And so I
Yes.
never had a problem with the why. It's
Hmm.
just the manner in which you ask. All right.
Okay.
You know,
Hmm.
during the time which we were growing up, there was no questions. Just do
No,
it.
you could not.
Right. No questions. Just do it. Why? What? So that was something that I definitely wanted to do differently, because naturally young people are going to be inquisitive, and because of their lack of worldly experience, they're going to wonder why they can and cannot do certain things, and
Hmm.
what's the reasoning behind it. So I definitely wanted to encourage them to ask questions. Like I said, we could talk about it as long as you're respectful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know my grandson told me the same thing. He said I probably would have did a lot better with my decisions if y'all just would have told me why, but we weren't,
Hmm.
you forget. I
Right.
had another guest on here. He said a lot of parents these days they like to try to be their kid's friend. And he said, no, you gotta be a parent. Do you
Right.
agree with that?
I absolutely do. I think that you can have a friendly relationship with your young people, but you
Hmm.
can't be their friend. There has
Yeah.
to be boundaries set in your relationship with your young people. Even to this day, my older son, to say something, I'll be like, "What?" Like, no, we don't play like that, So you have to still establish those boundaries, even though you might have a really good relationship with your young person.
So with your dad, he just said it and you did it and you didn't question it. Is that kind of like how it went?
For the most part, yeah. the
Yeah,
question,
you
the
was not
question,
his friend.
yeah, the questions were in my head. They just weren't being spoken. And
Okay.
so, it's kind of like he would say something, and or tell us something, and then maybe a half an hour later we go to our mother, like, why?
Yeah.
And she was like, well, this is what your father's thinking, blah 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 blah. So my
Okay.
mother definitely helped break down some of those communication barriers that we had with my father.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like he's old school. You're not getting no answer,
No,
and you are not asking any questions whatsoever.
that is correct. No,
Yeah.
no, no questions, just do. Right. I mean, and that's really, he has a military background,
Uh
so
oh.
I think that played into some of the ways in which we were raised. But the discipline portion of it is something that's definitely needed when you are raising young people. You have to establish boundaries. You have to establish rules, or it'll be chaos. So
Right.
um,
Yeah.
that I
So
did.
your kids have jobs. Do they have cars?
Yes, they do. They do
Did
have.
you buy them?
Yes, I did. Yes, I
Okay. What's
did.
the requirements? What was the stipulation? Were there any?
Um, and the stipulations were Dad was not going to continue to drive you around. That's really what I'm not driving you around. So no, I mean, for them to make sure that the maintenance on the car is taken care of, and they're driving responsibly. And I told him, I was like, this is the first and last car you're gonna get off me, buddy. So you better take care of it.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
did you get a car when you were growing up, or you had to buy your own?
I had to buy my own car. Yeah.
Okay. Did your dad give you like a little bit on it? Did he help you pay for gas? None of that.
Mm-mm.
Your
No.
siblings either? Not even the girls? Okay.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Did you
Mm-mm.
have a job when you were in high school?
I did. I did. I actually I didn't get my car until after high school, because
Okay.
really I didn't have any interest in driving. I was like, driving, that's crazy. Who wants to do that? But I did. I worked at Minnesota Fabrics as a clerk, because my mom is a seamstress. So she had my brother and I work at fabric stores so that she can get discount.
I was thinking that. I was
Yeah,
thinking that.
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So,
your
but
son, your son that goes to college, he's at school, so he doesn't have to spend the night. He comes back home, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He just goes. Okay.
He just goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he commutes. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. What is something you say you didn't try to encourage your well, they didn't want to be firefighters anyway.
Right.
But did you try to lead them, or you just watch their personalities and say, he'd be good at this, and let me see what he's going to finally decide he wants to do? Did you?
Yeah. Honestly, I talked with them about doing something that they felt would be a career for them, and that would help them live the lifestyle that they wanted to. and
Mhm.
and there was never any pressure from me to, or their parents or their mom, to for them to go to school. The one thing coming from a vocational background is that school's not for everybody. And
Right.
I think that push for everyone to go to school is really really kind of hampering some really good career opportunities for these young people in the trades. And that's something that we talk about. So I never I just didn't. I didn't. I encouraged what their desires were, like with
Okay.
the computer programming and the mechatronics and different things like that. So it was never going to be me like, well, only did it because you told me to. No, this is
Right.
something that you wanted to do. You said you wanted to do,
Right.
and so from there, just having a proper support system and helping them achieve those things was my only goal. My oldest, he got the raw deal because he was a COVID kid. So
Uh,
right, right. So he had about a half of a school year. Fortunately, he finished his swim season, and then the
mhm.
world shut down. And
Yeah.
so it was challenging for him, because now you're online, and my oldest is a very social guy.
Oh
So
wow.
he
Yeah.
he struggled, while my youngest, he thought it was great. He was like,
Because he likes the computer.
yeah, he liked the computer. He, typically introvert. He's like, oh, I don't have to be around these people. Absolutely. Grade shot through the roof. I was like, ain't this about nothing? Yeah. But he was sad when they went back to class. He was like, "We got to go back in person," But I think that he did initially kind of struggle with that, but our goal was to make sure that we supported the things that they wanted to do.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So saying that, what do you think is something that every dad should know about their children?
Um, the one thing I think every dad should know about their children is um, how each one of them responds to the way that you communicate.
Okay.
And I say that because how you communicate to them and talking with them on a personal level will help you get some of the desired results that you want as a parent. So we know that I know at least, um, if I'm upset or bothered by something that they did, my youngest, he feels that impact. He doesn't like that uncomfortableness.
Mhm.
My oldest son, I have to, sometimes we have to have some really intense conversations in order for him to get the message that goes across. But those are two different kids and two different styles of communication in order to get some of those things across. So I think it's really important for you, I guess, to understand your audience, and
Okay. Right.
and apply your communication skills individually to each young person.
Okay. All right. So, what family values have you taught your sons?
The family values the importance of family first. You
Okay.
you you don't you don't treat your friends better than you treat your family, and that's an important thing. My family is really close. All of us, we have a lot of extended family as well, friends and play cousins and different things like that. So they had the ability to see a really really strong family group, a family bond. And
Mhm.
so that's something that we talk about constantly, and I think that's one of the things that's still with them, that they value and that they acknowledge. Um, having strong family ties is one of our main family values that we talk about.
All right. So, what qualities do you value most in yourself?
Um, I believe that I'm fairly direct, so no one will ever have to guess what's going on in my head. I typically shoot straight from the hip, and so I think that just being direct and trying to be as honest and upfront as possible I would think is one of my main features.
Okay. All right. What's the lesson that you learned the hard way that you had to share with your sons?
Lessons I had to learn the hard way. I don't know. I really shared some of my brother's interesting
Oh,
interesting.
okay. Your life was smooth and his was a little rougher.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Our brother, he did a lot of things the hard way, and I was just figured out like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that way. Like, I'm gonna
Okay.
do it this way. But just taking school seriously, and valuing, the time that you have. Um, Really, the biggest thing with them now is just the time management.
Okay.
And I try to share with them that in your life, you're young and you have some time, but not for real. At some point you're going to have to leave the den and become more more independent. And so just making sure that the time that they're using every day is to help better themselves and put themselves in a situation where they can have true dependence. I tell them all the time, I was like, you can't say you're truly independent if you're staying at home with your parents. Okay.
Yes.
So that's the one thing. And sometimes I tell myself we need to make sure that we're accelerating your path to independence.
Mhm.
So we need to make sure you get that training, so you get that job and take your car. Go and get. But yeah, just the valuing of the time that you do have, you
Okay.
know, for sure.
Mm. So, what financial advice have you given them? Because they have jobs, they have cars.
Save your money. Don't spend it on Chipotle and DoorDash. Like, it's so funny because the whole DoorDash thing is very interesting. I've never really done that. I'm like, dude, McDonald's is right up the street. So um, just to save their money and use their money wisely. They're kind of my youngest son. He is tight, buddy. He'll ask you for money and be sitting on about $1,000. So he definitely understands the value of money. My oldest son is just kind of moving into that, and we've also talked about credit. That's the one conversation that I think I know that I didn't have from coming from my parents about the utilization of credit and credit cards and different things like that. So that's something that I constantly taught them about, making sure that their credit, they keep their credit up and pay their bills on time.
Okay. Hmm. All right. So, what's your favorite thing about each one of your sons?
Um, so my favorite thing about the oldest is the fact that he's very thoughtful, and he's very caring. He's definitely in tune with my moods for sure. So even when he was younger, he could definitely sense when something was wrong. And he just come up and just give me a hug on the leg and keep it moving. But the fact that he's thoughtful and that he really cares about people is great. I think that's one of his better qualities. My youngest son, um, he's very intelligent, and he's, I mean, really, they're really thoughtful young men. He'll call and check in on me and see how the work's going and everything. They both knew dad was extremely frustrated with the NFL draft stuff, so they were they were constantly calling and checking in on me. So they're really, and that's really I think that's really a testament to the type of to their mother. She's that type of person as well. So she really helped build in some good qualities for both of them to think about themselves, to not only think about themselves, but show interest in other people as well.
That's good. So, how do you show your sons that you love them?
Um, I mean that I constantly, hug and I'm affectionate with my sons. That's how they are. They give hugs and I tell them that I love them constantly. I mean that's something that coming from our era, well, at least my era, didn't hear a whole bunch of from the men in that particular era. So that was something that I wanted to do, was definitely um, be affectionate with my children and show them that I do love them, and how I love them is by continuing to act as a guide. At
Okay.
this particular point, I think I tell them all the time. I'm like, I'm not your parent. I'm like a guidance counselor, right? You have, as a young adult, you have the right to do what you want to do, but I'll advise you on some of your actions, and if you bump your head, I'm not going to say I told you so. I'm going to say I told you so very loudly. So um and then we'll clean it up and then move on, but those are lessons learned. But um yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, we're gonna take a 30-second break right here. And stay tuned, everybody. The Real Dad Speak. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Hi, are you thinking about having that backyard barbecue or taking dad to the neighborhood restaurant again this year for Father's Day? Well, why don't you do something different this year and bring your dad out to our Father's Day luncheon being held at the DSO located at 3711 Woodward Avenue in Midtown Detroit. Your dad will enjoy a great meal, live music by the Class Act Band, laughs by comedian Mike Bonner, and our DJ Rod S. will be playing music to help your dad dance off that delicious meal. I'm Sarah McClure, the host of Real Dad Speak podcast, and I'm inviting you to bring your dad out for an afternoon of music, fun, and laughs. We'll have great door prizes and several contests for dad to win more prizes, including Best Dressed Dad. So save the backyard barbecue and messy cleanup for the 4th of July and bring your dad out for an afternoon of music, fun, and laughs. Tickets are available online at dso.org and at the DSO box office in Midtown Detroit. I hope to see you there. Welcome back, everybody, to Real Dad Speak. We're talking with Don Thomas, the fire marshal for the city of Detroit. He's raising sons. And right now, Don, we're getting to the part of the show where I call it my final five. I'll either ask you a question or a fill in the blank. So, number one, what do you think all boys and girls need from their fathers?
They need guidance and they need love. They need to be shown love, um, um, emotionally and physically. But they definitely need guidance.
Okay. Number two, what are you trying to show your sons about being a man and a dad?
Well, as far as being a man, just making sure that you're a person of your word. Um, you display integrity at all times and being responsible, getting up, going to work, and taking care of business. As a dad, I'm not trying to show them anything because I don't want to be a granddad.
Not even when they 40.
No, no, no. Listen, I told him, I said, if you guys um, have kids, you're gonna have to be looking for me because I'm moving out the country. That's the only way I'm seeing them. All right.
I know that just makes them laugh.
Yeah, yeah. Interestingly enough, they're like, "Oh no, we're not having kids." I was like, "See, you understand?"
So
Goodness.
silly.
Yeah.
Okay. Number three, what's the best advice your dad ever gave you?
To get a job with health insurance.
Okay.
That's it. That's one thing. Just be a man of your word and take care of your family. That's the thing that he really, the message that he really pushed home for my brother and I.
Okay.
You know,
All right. Number four, what's one important lesson that fatherhood has taught you?
it's taught me a lot of patience because typically I am not very patient. Especially in the with the job that I have, things happen very quickly, and you're constantly on the move. And you have to think on your feet, and you need things done ASAP. Um, these young people move at their own pace,
Yes.
and so the patience portion of it is what I've learned a lot of. Yeah.
Okay. And number five, this is a fill in the blank. What three words or three adjectives would your children use to describe you when they say this sentence? Our dad is blank, blank, and blank.
Let's see, adjectives. Our dad is sarcastic, um, understanding, and real.
Okay. From both of them.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I like that. Well, thank you, Mr. Thomas. I appreciate you
Thank you
spending
for
some
having me
time
on.
out of that busy schedule,
Yes,
uh,
yes. Thank you.
sharing your stories with us.
That was
And
great.
thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Real Dad Speak. We have a new episode out every Tuesday on YouTube and Spotify at 7 o'clock. So stay tuned. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you next time.